All right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? This is Immigration Attorney Mamita. I'm coming to you live to talk to you about immigration and to see the questions that you may have on your mind today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Mamita Rahman, and I'm an immigration attorney. I have been an immigration attorney for the past 15 years, and it is my pleasure to do the work that I do because I believe that immigrants make America great already. So don't give up. I know things are really scary right now, but let's talk about immigration and what options you may have, okay? And if you are a current client, thank you for joining. Thank you for being our client and trusting us with your case. If you are a follower, thank you for joining. If you're new to my page, welcome to my page, welcome to my channel, and feel free to drop your immigration questions in the box below, and I'll do my best to answer as many questions that I can live during the time that I have today. But first, I do want to go ahead and start off this live session with a topic, with a question that we got yesterday, which is actually really relevant to the thing that a lot of our clients are going through, right? You guys know that we work primarily with cases involving marriage problems to the extent where you're suffering a lot. You're suffering so much. You're suffering emotional abuse. You're suffering your spouse threatening to divorce you. You're suffering through your spouse threatening to cancel your case. You're walking on eggshells around your spouse, and they're hurting you, right? They're either hurting you financially, mentally, physically sometimes, and you may be wondering what to do, right? What road should you go down? Because maybe you have already filed your case together with your spouse, or maybe they have told you that they're going to help. And especially during these days when things are so scary in the world of immigration, you might be really, you might be holding on to the hope even more that if your husband or wife has not already filed your green card for you, that they're finally going to do it because things are so bad, right? And you're holding on hope, and you're trying to get them to start the paperwork, or you're just waiting for your interview if you have already filed the paperwork, right? But you're going through all these problems, you're suffering all these things, and you may be wondering, like, what is the best thing to do? Should I keep putting up with all of this with the hopes of that it's going to help me get a green card and then I'll figure out what to do? Or should you explore your options? And this is a predicament that a lot of the clients that we have gone through. It's the predicament and the question that a lot of you who are not yet clients have on your mind about, what should I do? Should I continue the case with my spouse? Should I stay in this relationship with the hopes that they're going to file for me? Or should I explore what other options I have to file by myself? And here's the thing. What I can say to you is that exploring what your options are and deciding to make your own path is not something that you should devalue, because a lot of times, if we are relying on somebody else to help us out, right? We're tied to them and we're reliant on them, and your whole case can be gone if they leave, or if they file for divorce, or if they withdraw your case, right? And you may be thinking, well, I'd rather do that because this other case, filing for a VAWA or for an I-751 application with the waiver is going to take too long. But I submit to you that living your life tied to somebody else, where they control everything and they control you as a result, is not the happiest way to live. Now, of course, you yourself have to make your own decision about what is the best course of action. You yourself have to decide what you want to do. I advocate for my clients to do whatever it is that makes them happy, whatever it is that they think is best. So I would never tell somebody, oh, you have to leave them, or you have to file this because that's the only way to go. I'm not like that, because I understand there's practical considerations. Maybe you're married and this person is your only source of income. You have children together and you're not sure how you're going to survive, right? You don't want to consider leaving them. But you know what the good news is that for these cases, if you're married to a US citizen or to a green card holder and you want to file by yourself, the law does not actually require that you have to leave your spouse. The law does not require that you be divorced from your spouse to be able to pursue a self-petition or a waiver for extreme cruelty or battery. So that's number one. Number two, you might be thinking that, it's actually easier to do the joint marriage case. It's actually easier to wait for my spouse to help me than it is to do these things because I heard it takes 3 years or 4 years. Well, yes, it's true. These other cases take a long time, but you know what else takes a long time? If they waste your life not applying for you and you keep waiting year after year, or they file for you, your case gets denied because of one reason or another due to their sabotage or their lack of willingness to cooperate with your process, and you get denied and you get put into removal proceedings and you have to spend even more years in court trying to get out of that situation, okay? So the best policy is to find out what you're eligible for. Number one, find out what you're eligible for. And the only way that you can really do that is by talking to a law firm that knows what they're doing with this sort of case, right? So feel free to give us a call, 212-248-7907. And then once you find out what you qualify for, the second thing you have to do is to decide what matters most to you and what are you willing to put up with, right? What are you willing to put up with? And I would submit to you that I counsel clients to think about your future, right? I want to empower my clients to be able to live a life that they want. And it's very, very hard to live a life that you want when it's being controlled by somebody else's intentions, okay? So 212-248-7907. Okay, let's go ahead and answer some questions. And thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. And just so you know, I am going live on 4 different platforms. MRIT, please call our office. You're saying you don't have an update on your case, but we actually update clients usually at least once a month. So give us a call, okay? 212-248-7907. All right. Well, this is an interesting question from another lawyer. What should I answer for the question in DS 160? Are you arrested or convicted if I only got a citation for shoplifting? Well, first of all, how can you answer the question? On a lot of immigration forms and applications, you are going to get the question, have you ever been arrested, cited, or detained for any reason anywhere in the world? That's almost literally the question that you get. And if you get that question, should you say no just because your charge was a small charge for shoplifting or it was dismissed? And the answer is no, my friend. If you have ever been arrested, cited, or detained by any sort of law enforcement for any sort of violation, you have to answer that truthfully. And even if it got dismissed, that doesn't negate the fact that you got that citation in the first place, okay? So, I'm not going to tell you how to answer that question on the form in particular because only you should do that with a lawyer. However, I can tell you that when immigration wants to know if you have ever been arrested, cited, or detained, they literally want to know and they literally want to see you answer truthfully whether or not you have ever had any sort of negative interaction with a law enforcement agent. So I hope that helps. 212-248-7907. And thank you. I just got some gifts on Instagram. Let me see if I can see who that was and who sent me the question. Amar Desai, thank you for the rose. Amar Desai, thank you so much. So, all right, I have a question for Suhaib. My interview was 3 days ago. How long does it usually take to get a response? Suhaib and anybody else who has had an immigration interview, once you have had an Ragvinder, okay, I see your rose. Okay, thank you so much, Ragvinder. So once you have had a USCIS interview, it generally takes at least 120 days to get a decision. And in fact, anytime you have had either a citizenship interview or a green card interview at an immigration office, you will almost always get a piece of paper that says your interview has been held, your results are being held for case review or something like that, right? It will never say that you're approved or denied. Usually, like for citizenship cases, you might say it may say you're being recommended for approval, but it still doesn't say, right? So what that paper will also usually say is that we have 120 days to make a decision on your case, right? So literally they're kind of telling you in advance, you've got to be patient. you have got to be patient after your immigration interview for the decision, and give us at least several months to make this decision, okay? And in reality, you have to look at the processing time overall for a case. It's not considered too old sometimes, even if it goes beyond 4 months. So I hope that helps. How long does it take to get a VAWA work permit and then a green card for Algemo? Normally speaking, a work permit through a VAWA case can take anywhere from 6 to 8 months. And then afterwards, it depends on how long the VAWA itself takes to get approved, because these days it's taking between 3 to 4 years for the VAWA to get approved. And then afterwards is when you wait for your green card approval, which can range anywhere from 6 to 12 months, depending on your jurisdiction, okay? 212-248-7907. And hello, YouTube. Hello. Let's see what questions you have. Hello, Nasarg. Mohammed Danish, hello, how are you? Congratulations on everything. Emmanuel, thank you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you too. Thank you for trusting us with your case, Emmanuel. Emmanuel's asking, can one travel out of the country while a T visa is pending and waiting for a asylum decision? Just curious. Emmanuel Fanchen. Emmanuel, thank you so much for your question. So Emmanuel, generally speaking, if you have a pending T visa case or you have a pending asylum application, you are generally not eligible to travel out of the country. I know that, some people say you could file for an I-131 based upon asylum. I have never seen one get approved. Generally speaking, you have to wait for these to get approved, and then you can file for an I-131 advanced parole application. Now, for persons who have filed for some persons can file for advanced parole through their cases. For example, if you have an I-485 pending with a VAWA application or with an I-130, sometimes you can get an advanced parole. And with that, you can travel out of the country. Although I would tell you right now that if you have advanced parole, maybe now is not the time to travel. So you really want to be careful, okay? So I hope that helps, Emmanuel. Basically, the best thing is to really, really wait for approval. Jack is asking, I want to ask, I did my biometrics and they only took a picture with no fingerprints. It hasn't been updated yet, Jack. Again, I want to caution everybody. Do not expect immigration to update your case automatically or to give you correct updates on your case. A lot of times, this has been the case in the past, and it's probably going to get worse in the future as USCIS has fewer and fewer officers working there because of cuts and firings and layoffs and all of those things. The immigration agency is not necessarily an efficient agency. They try hard to get cases processed, but they have a limited workforce, a lot of cases, and a lot of bureaucracy. So and a lot of changes they have to deal with too. So if you're waiting for something, you just filed something, you don't have your receipts, you just did your fingerprints, the status is not updated online, it's just part of the process, okay? My wife has a green card. Should we be scared to fly domestically? So I would say if you have a green card, you have very little reason to be afraid to fly domestically. So the green card might be enough. Vic Montana, yes, we have a backlog and we're working through it, and your case will hit one of our desks hopefully very soon, but we'll make sure to check on it, okay? Let's see. What sort of cases does your law firm handle? Okay, what sort of cases does our law firm handle? We typically work with the cases involving a lot of trauma in a sense. So if you have been in a relationship with a US citizen or if you've been married to a US citizen or to a green card holder, let me start over. These are the types of cases that we work with. We work with VAWA cases, and this requires for you to have one of two things. Number one, you either need to be married to a US citizen or to a green card holder, or you could be the parent of an adult US citizen child, and where you have suffered either emotional abuse or physical abuse in your relationship, we may be able to help you file for VAWA. Number two, if you have ever worked for somebody who has basically treated you very, very poorly, where you did not have that normal work relationship, where you were afraid of your boss, you weren't getting paid, you were getting threatened with deportation or with immigration. These are the sorts of cases that may constitute something called trafficking, and we work with those cases. And lastly, if you have ever been the victim of violence, where we may be able to qualify you for a U visa, we may be able to help you with that case. Okay, 212-248-7907. Ragvinder, thank you. Let's see if you have a question, Ragvinder. Roshana is asking, I just got married in February. Should I wait? Roshana, should you wait? And should anybody else who just got married, should you wait to file your case? And my advice on this has actually always been the same. Apply as soon as you can, because some people think that you need to be married for a minimum amount of time before you can file your application, and that's simply not true. You can file your applications the day you get married. Okay, there's no need to wait. However, I do want you to keep in mind that if your relationship is not that long and you don't have a lot of evidence about your relationship, it doesn't matter how long you wait after getting married for you to file your case, because a lack of evidence in your case can be a red flag and can indicate to the USCIS officer that you may not have what is called a bona fide good faith marriage, okay? So it doesn't matter how long you have been married, but what does matter is how much evidence you have of your relationship. So generally speaking, we want your relationship to have some depth to it. We want your relationship to have some time to it. And but I will let you know that we have won many cases for people who met and got married within 6 months really fast. And that wasn't a problem because we had good evidence in the case. Clients were able to testify about the details of how the relationship progressed so quickly. So it's a lot more believable to the immigration officer, and it withstands the questioning, so to speak. Okay. So if you want help, give us a call, 212-248-7907. I have been married to a U.S. citizen for 5 years, and I'm now divorced. Am I still eligible for citizenship after 3 years? So if you are no longer married to your U.S. citizen spouse, you've got to wait for 5 years to file for citizenship. Thank you so much, Kay. How long will it take to get a bona fide determination letter for a T visa application that's been filed? From Kay. Kay, getting a bona fide determination letter for a T visa case is actually kind of like a roll of the dice at this point, because USCIS has not been giving them out for a lot of cases. And also they don't really we don't know exactly why they refuse to give a bona fide determination to some cases and why they grant it to others. But as far as how long they've been taking, I would say anywhere from 6 to 12 months is when you might receive it. But also, like right now, I could say that I can't tell you for sure because it's taking about 4 months just to get receipts on these cases. So it's kind of throwing everything off right now. Thank you, Luis. Hello. Alina, I will look into your case. If we have a backlog, it's taking right now, I would say anywhere from, well, I don't want to say right now because I have to look at everything, but we are going to look into your case, okay? And it's true that we are having a backlog. So for all of our current clients that are waiting for updates on their cases, we really, really appreciate your patience. The truth is that we have experienced lots of setbacks of our own with all the changes that the USCIS has had, from changing up all the, making all the forms expired all at once, where we had to redo all the work on so many hundreds of cases, to requiring medical exams, which prevented us from filing a bunch of applications, and then having all the forms expire. So there's been one thing or another, plus also there have been lots of requests for evidence being sent and interviews. So there's just been a lot of things happening in the immigration world. So to my current clients who are also experiencing a delay as a result, I deeply apologize. I know it's very stressful, and you're probably wondering why, and you're probably thinking that you made the wrong choice, or you're wondering if we're even real. We are real, we do care, and we want to serve you and continue serving you. So we appreciate your patience as we work through this together, okay? Okay, so let's see what other questions I have. How many years of work permit are they giving for a VAWA right now? From Tejal. Tejal, it's a 5. Actually, sorry, I believe it's a 5-year work permit that everyone's still getting. Okay, so I have another question that we got from callers yesterday, which was what to do if you have an adult child and you have an adult U.S. citizen child, but your U.S. citizen child is constantly threatening you with deportation, and now it's gotten worse because of the current president. And not only that, they're basically taking all your money, they don't contribute, and they take advantage of you that way. Do you have any options with that? And if you are undocumented, you do not have a legal entry, or your child is just not going to file for you, even though they're a U.S. citizen and they can file for you, they don't want to cooperate, then I want you to give us a call, because maybe you might qualify for something called the VAWA self-petition. And this is something that not a lot of parents know about, but I think these days a lot of parents know what VAWA is, and you're wondering if it's the right sort of case for you to do. And the truth is it's best to always have a consultation at a case evaluation, because you want to see if you have the facts that fill it. But a lot of parents who do have one of these sorts of adult children who are freeloading off of them and saying nasty, harmful things and taking advantage of the money and everything, don't necessarily know if this is the right case to do, because number one, you feel bad that you don't want to say anything bad about your child. Number two, you think it might harm your son or your daughter. Or number three, you think that your case is not strong enough because you don't have any evidence. And the reality is that for these cases, for any VAWA case, for VAWA cases, for T visa cases, the standard of evidence is any credible evidence. So in reality, all you really need is an affidavit. And a lot of our T visa cases, for example, have been approved with just an affidavit. I've gotten many VAWA cases approved with maybe an affidavit and like one piece of evidence. Sometimes it's just a psychological evaluation. So the standard is any credible evidence, and no, this is not changing even though we're in Trump 2.0, okay? And second, the VAWA case does not harm your child because of the fact that this is not a public record. They're not investigating your child. They're not coming after your child. They're not even allowed to ask questions to your child because of all the confidential protections that the law gives you. And yes, the law is still the law. I get a lot of people saying like, should I file for this now? Like, is it getting harder to get these cases approved, denying cases just because it's Trump? And we are still getting cases approved every single day. We just got a green card approval notice today for a client who got their green card through VAWA. We have several, you guys see my videos. In reality, you don't even see all the clients who come to the office to pick up their green cards or their work permits because not everybody wants to be on camera, but we are getting approvals on the daily. The approvals have not stopped. Now, you may get more of a challenge. You may get more RFEs on your cases. And if you saw my video yesterday, we're getting more interviews. So if you filed a marriage case, you're almost definitely going to get an interview. If you have an I-751 pending, you're definitely going to get an interview. And if you filed for VAWA and you're waiting on your green card, you may get an interview as well. Although I do want to share that a lot of our VAWA clients are still getting green cards without an interview. So, it's kind of 50-50 for that, okay? So the bottom line is that the actual law has not changed regarding certain immigration reliefs, right? There's still the same things that we have to prove today as we would have had to prove last year, and that has not changed. And if you are legally eligible to file for one of these cases, my recommendation is for you to work with whoever you trust to get your application in before the law does change, right? Because if the law changes, then you might lose your right. And, we can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen, but what we do know is what we have available right now. So if you qualify for something, a U visa, a T visa, a VAWA, an I-130, file it today. File it today before things get worse. But also you want to keep in mind that you want to make sure you work with a law firm that you trust, who can go through everything with you and make sure that everything's okay in your case, because you also still want to be careful too, okay? So 212-248-7907, and we're definitely around. We are waiting to hear from you. If you've been following me, if you've been watching me, if you've come across my videos and you're just not sure what to do, well, I encourage you to just slowly take steps forward, okay? Jay Thacker, hello, thank you so much. For green card holders waiting for an I-751 approval with the DWAI on record 10 years ago, is it safe to travel domestically or Puerto Rico? From Vanessa Lozano. Vanessa, so this is a great question. So I personally, we as an office are recommending to all of our clients who are green card holders to not travel if you have any sort of criminal issue, because especially when you travel, it triggers investigations sometimes into your criminal history, even if it's from many years ago and you're a green card holder, right? So these days, I think, I would say if you're a green card holder, don't give them a reason to look into things. So it's, if you have any sort of criminal history and you're a green card holder, my recommendation would be to withhold and abstain from travel right now. And if you're traveling domestically, that may not be an issue. But Vanessa, you're talking about traveling to Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is it's interesting because yes, it is domestic. However, there's CBP all over the place. Okay, there's CBP all over the place. So you want to be a little bit careful about that. All right. So I hope that helps. Morning motivation. Can I be deported if ICE stops me while my VAWA case is pending, or does a pending case give some legal protection from random ICE deportation by ICE? From morning motivation. Morning motivation, this is a really good question, and I'm sure it's a question that's on a lot of your minds, is that will a pending case prevent me from getting deported? And the answer is that it provides you some protection, but it does not. Number one, having a pending case does not prevent you from getting arrested by ICE. This is the case whether you have an I-130 pending or an asylum pending or a T visa or a VAWA pending or a U visa. You may still get arrested by ICE, because these days the sad reality is that they're not discriminating. They're not parsing it out. They don't care sometimes, right? If they have a quota to fill, they're just grabbing whoever they can. So a random case, any immigration case, just because it's pending does not mean that it's going to prevent you from getting picked up, right? Or from being arrested. Now, will it prevent your deportation? And the answer right now is that if you are arrested and placed into detention or removal proceedings, you now have to make sure you're looking at what the judge is going to say. Most judges are not going to just dismiss cases anymore because you have a pending case. You still have to show that you qualify for something. But for the majority of people, if you have filed a VAWA case, if you have a spousal VAWA case, you typically do qualify. You may qualify for something called cancellation of removal underneath the special rule. You may qualify for something else called cancellation of removal, which is something similar as well. But really, if you end up getting arrested and put into removal proceedings, your first, you want to make sure that you see what defenses you have in court. And a pending application by itself is not going to, the judge may not consider it a defense. However, we can use it to help us to show that you're not a flight risk, right? You're not a flight risk. You have a pending case. You are interested in pursuing this case and getting it resolved because you have relief through this. So you should be released on bond. And a lot of times this can definitely help. Can definitely help, right? To show that you have a pending case, it can definitely help, 100%. Troy Gale, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So, I think maybe morning motivation, what you're really looking for, and everybody else is, we're all looking for assurances and guarantees that something will absolutely save us and prevent us from harm during this administration. The reality is that there's not a lot of 100% certainty about anything anymore, because as we can see, they're not necessarily honoring a lot of things. But if most of you don't want to give up, right? You don't want to give up the fight. You have built your lives here and you want to try, and you should still make sure you fight for what you are entitled to, fight for what you're eligible for, and get that in, because it's not going to harm you, and it can on the other hand, provide you with an additional layer of protection. Okay, so 212-248-7907. Tom's, no one has called me from your law firm about adding my stepdaughter's derivative. Well, yes, I did say we can't tell which client you are, so we can't call you. So you have to call us. You have to call us, my friend. Please call us if you're a current client and you have a question. You have a username that doesn't allow me to see which client you are. So please call us. That way we know the question is coming from you. I would really appreciate that. Okay. Does this law firm help with asylum cases from Princess T? We are not taking asylum cases right now, but we always have referrals for asylum from people that I trust. I have a conditional green card, but it is expiring in January, and I need to renew in October. Can I go back home and come back by myself from somebody with a question about an I-751? And if you have a 2-year resident card and you know that it's about to expire and you want to travel, I would say that you should be very, very careful about traveling because number one, get your case filed, I would say, because if you get stuck outside, then you may have a very hard time filing your case and returning. Get your case filed. And for those of you who have a 2-year resident card, you better keep an eye on that expiration date and make sure you're looking at what's happening in your relationship too. A lot of you are having lots of marriage problems and having a very bad time in your marriage to a US citizen, and you have a 2-year green card, and you have to think about what's going to happen in 6 months or a year when you have to file your application. And some of you are waiting too long to take action. Now, if your spouse has been threatening with divorce, they've moved out, they've kicked you out, or you've had to move out, or your spouse is hurting you and you're afraid of them not helping you with your case, and you have a 2-year conditional card, you need to find out right now if you're eligible for a waiver. If you are eligible for a waiver, it could be because of extreme cruelty or battery, or if you have gotten divorced, you may be eligible for a divorce waiver. Now, I can't answer for you which one is the best, but what I can tell you is that if you don't have a lot of evidence in your case, then filing for an I-751 waiver due to extreme cruelty and battery, especially because your spouse has not given you access to the documentation, is a very, very important tool to explain how you have suffered abuse in your marriage, right? Do not wait until your card is about to expire to take action. A lot of people will say, oh, I'll just think about this in 2 years. If you are having problems right now in your marriage, reach out to a law firm and get insight about what your options are. And we would be very happy to help. We have worked on hundreds of very complicated I-751 applications. I have gotten I-751 applications approved for people who had them previously denied by other lawyers. I've had I-751 applications approved for persons who have received orders of deportation from judges because their I-751s got denied. We got those things reopened, and clients have a green card now for multiple clients. So do not give up and do not wait too long to take action. We have gotten them. I shared yesterday the story of one of my clients for whom we got approved, who went through the whole thing, right? He suffered abuse in his marriage. He barely had any evidence at all. Literally, I recall just 3 pictures that he was able to provide and a divorce certificate. Actually, that's it. So he had his I-751 denied, went to court, and I was actually able to get his case terminated in court, filed a new I-751. That one also got denied, but we appealed because they wrongly denied it, saying that there was not enough evidence, when I know that the standard of evidence in this case is any credible evidence, right? And the officer denied, saying that we didn't have all these things, and that was incorrect because we had a psychological evaluation and we had my client's testimony, and that is enough underneath the law. And the appeal was approved, it got sent back down, and the I-751 then got approved, and he now has his green card in his hand. So don't give up hope, and don't let lawyers tell you that you can't get approved because you don't have evidence, okay? It's just that they're scared, but you need a lawyer that's not going to be scared for you, okay? 212-248-7907. All right, guys, that's all the time that I have today. I hope that this is valuable and useful for you. If you found this, if you think anyone else would benefit from this information, please feel free to share my videos with them. I appreciate all the follows. I appreciate all the love. I appreciate all the support, and I appreciate my current clients who are watching for trusting us with their case. I know it's not easy, and I know it's difficult out there. So we really, really are grateful to you for allowing us to be by your side, okay? And if you want to schedule a case evaluation, our evaluation fee is $150. Which is basically deposit, because you get the money back. You know, if you don't want to work with us or we can't take your case, we give you a refund of your evaluation fee. If you hire us, we credit it towards your legal fee in total. So you've got nothing to lose, okay? And you can give us a call at 212-248-7907 to schedule a case evaluation, okay? My name is Mamita Rahman. Thank you for listening and for watching, and God bless. Take care.